Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in your day. Hope you're having a great one. So, you refound us here on Lost and Refound. Today, we're going to put together our pile of parts and see if we can't get further along on this project. So, we've got our transmission case nice and clean. Went ahead and painted it with some aluminum paint, make it look like a brand new aluminum casting. We went ahead and put our block offs in that we're not going to use. So here's for our vacuum modulator. Here's our governor, just flipped it over. I think it looks a little nicer with it recessed instead of domed. And then on this side we've got our block off for our kickdown electrical. Won't be needing those because we're going to full manual configuration. So there's our case prepped and ready. We've went in and replaced the rear case bushing that was sticking out. If you remember that from our teardown. Yeah, case is ready to go. We're gonna get some parts assembled, and we're gonna do a little time lapse, and you can watch us do our thing. This isn't a how-to video really. This is just me throwing stuff in a transmission case. We'll talk a little bit here and there about any performance improvements or other modifications we're doing. So here we go.
So we got our new pump here that we were replacing the old pump because of the wear on the housing. So we'll set that aside. Even though it's a new pump, we're going to do some performance upgrades. So we're going to replace our spring. We're going to modify our piston in there, and then we're still going to take our two pump halves apart. There's an internal modification to do. So this is what our non-damaged pump surface should look like. So we're going to do a little modification. This hole right here is where we will put this little tiny set screw in. We're going to drill the recommended size hole in it, and that will increase our line pressure. So now time to drill our hole. We're going to do a 1/8 inch hole. I think we're gonna make that wall thickness awful thin. We're gonna go ahead and Loctite it in place first. Need a light in there. So there's our finished restrictor for our increased volume or increased pressure. Obviously it cuts down the volume because it goes from a 5/16 hole to an 1/8 inch hole. Alright. So now that that's done, we got to get this put back together. This hose clamp is going to be our alignment tool. So we need to line our pump. It would have been smart to mark it before taking it apart. So we're going to flip that over, and we need our pump housing bolts. These are the pump transmission bolts. Slide them in to help line us up. be one more. What? There's one more. All right. So now when we tighten this clamp, it will align our two halves of the pump body. They make a special tool for this. It works pretty much the same. So we'll get a worm drive on our clamp to engage. Get that centered up. We'll tighten that up. Now, set that on edge, and we will place our pump body assembly bolts back into place. I'll run these in by hand, just make sure feels like we're not off on our thread engagement. I'll have to go get a torque wrench and torque those as specified. We'll do that in a little bit. Alright, and when we flip it over, those should all fall out because it's a nice slip fit. Where are you? Ah, there you are. Alright. Alright, so we gotta go get a snap ring pliers and we'll pull that snap ring, pull the piston out, and I'll show the instructions on that. I'll be right back. So, I'm going to take this snap ring out, put a little pressure on there to release it. Alright, hold on tight. Well, we didn't even have a Jesus clip moment. Alright. So I have to take that apart for two reasons. That little piece right there has to get modified, and this spring has to get replaced. I believe that has to be left out. We're going to consult the instructions. You did a good job writing instructions. Yep, discard any horseshoe spacers and modify this little valve that sits inside that valve. Slather those bits up and some lube. We are not reusing those two pieces. To 15 foot-pounds. Oh, I'm just torquing the pump housing bolts. Welcome back. Battery changes, stuff like that. Okay, so that is assembled. I'm going to keep the clamp on it for the moment while we put that together, so it made a nice little spot for that. So here's our two different springs. Here's our factory spring. Here's our aftermarket spring. Factory spring is longer, but it has a softer spring rate. And this one is stiffer. Oh, we did our little grind modification that it showed in the instructions. Don't know what that's for, but it's in there for a reason. Alright. Here's the part where you need about 3 hands. Alright. Hold it tight. I'm going to be pushing that way.
Scared me.
Alright. That's funny. Background noise right as we got it done. Thanks to my lovely assistant.
Custom made tool time. Chunk of wood. That'll stand on there. So they make an actual transmission case holder. It pins into these holes on the side. Yeah, probably runs about 70 bucks if you order one out of the rainforest. But yeah, I just didn't want to buy one because I don't know how many transmissions I'm going to be doing in the future. Of course, that's already come back to bite me on a couple things. But I figure for now, some 2x6 blocks. So it's spaced up so that the output shaft has enough room where it doesn't bottom out. Just make it easier when I go to drop everything in from the pump side of the case. And let's get to it. So while we're working on this, we're just going to throw our clutches and our other band in some ATF. Just kind of get them a little wet with fluid. And don't have to like soak these overnight or anything. It's not like a brine. We're not making a making a recipe here like that. But yeah, we'll just get those a little wet, get them going. So now we're going to use some assembly glue. It's a green high-tack, very sticky grease. But it's really good for holding things in place on a transmission that you don't want to move while you're assembling it. And it has a let's see, what's the word I'm looking for here? It'll take a while before it'll melt in ambient air. Actually, I want that piece in the case. But yeah, so it's good to just hold things in place. It's kind of spenny for what it is. You'll buy a tub and then you'll forget where it is, and many years down the road you'll go to rebuild a transmission. You'll go, hey, where the heck is it? And you go and buy another $20 tub of assembly glue. So that's how that usually works. Back to it. Start dropping some pieces in. That piece. This one, we're going to use a lower spacer because it came out. I'll get that down in its groove. Alright. Come on, get in your groove. Get in your groove, baby. Alright. So we're in our groove. That. Let this run the next piece. We'll do this next. So there's our 2 fluid holes and our center support bolt hole right there. They line up corresponding there. So we need to make sure that those line up properly and they seat. A little twist and she seats. Alright, shafts in. And we'll put our retainer snap ring in, hold the center support in, and then we'll work on clutches. Okay, we're going to take this drum apart. Reason for that is we're putting new springs in. So, we'll just take your clutches and steels out. And if you look in here, there's all the springs. They're held in by this piece. It's under pressure. And then there's a lock ring. So, we need to remove the pressure from that. So I went ahead and ran down to South America, down where the rainforest is, and picked this little baby up. So just clamp that tight, and now, as you watch, the magic of a jack screw compresses all those springs. Now see, we got release tension on our springs. Get in there with a pick or screwdriver or whatever. It's gonna work, and we'll get this snap ring out. I think I'm gonna have to go get some snap ring pliers actually. So I'll be back. I'm gonna go get some snap ring pliers. You take a sweet tea break. A little sip of sweet tea. Hope you did too. Went and got our snap ring pliers. Now I've got a couple of different ones here. So I've got some New Britain ones in my left hand here, some KD tools in my right. Both made in the USA. These New Britain ones, they're probably older than me. I have no idea where I picked them up. Picked them up somewhere along the way. You can just see the beef. Yeah. When these ain't got nothing on me, where's the beef in the New Britain? But not to say that KD doesn't make a good tool. Obviously, I have these. I have some of their other tools. These definitely have some wear from use. These not so much because, well, I've had to warranty them out more than once because the metal is so thin that these will fold on a heavier snap ring. So when you hear old timers say, "Oh, I don't make it like I used to," well, there's a reason their tools weighed 600,000 pounds. Yeah, just, throwing that out there. Anyway, back to work. Here's another one of those. They don't make them like they used to. So you can see the weld popped off our little set screw setup. So, not the end of the world. I mean, that can be pulled apart and welded. But man, what a pain in the backside to be in the middle of a job, to have to stop and dig out the grinder and dig out the welder and just have to fix a cheap manufacturing problem. Oh look, it's fixed. Not really. I'm gonna have to electrically glue that back together. I'm I'm gonna try something else to get us by so we can get through this project. We're gonna get another clamp on it and see if we can't get it rolling. But yeah, they don't make them like they used to, because yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to work. Maybe even got the nut machine to where it'll drop down in the hole. But booger welded on. No penetration. Just what your girl doesn't want to hear is no penetration. We're back. Little lunch break. Had Dr. Pepper with lunch today. That's all right. It's something good. So, got our booger welded back together. Yeah, I know, it's ugly. But we did look, and it's got good penetration. It's just what they like to hear. Got good penetration. Get that lined up better. Now we can put some squeeze on her. Alright. Compress all the way where we can get some broken work in there. Let's see if I can get these snap ring pliers in. Oops. Come back here now. Try and do this so you can see. But we don't want the spring to go kertwang everywhere. See if I can get a pick in behind it. Nope, not that try. Come on now, you can do it. Alright, that time we're in behind it. Just take and work that up and around and out. Now, let's see if I gave myself enough room for the compression of the springs on this screw. I'm about to find out. God, I think we're gonna make it. Yeah, just enough. And sometimes that's all we need, is just enough. So now, we'll pull that off. See all our springs in there. And we'll open up our kit. And put our new springs in there. Getting down where we got less and less parts in our parts kit. Ooh, shiny. Pretty. Okay. Alright. That's just a case of do-do-do-do-do-do. You can see a little bit stouter spring. So we'll apply more pressure. Alright. And we gave us one extra. Don't know why, but oh no, there they are. There we go. We're adding 2 springs as well. All right, so that's done. Just gonna make that a little shimmy shake. Sure, we're nice and clean. Yeah, I can't imagine if that would have come apart now with all the extra tension we got on these springs. More of them and higher spring rate. Ooh. So as we don't get caught on the lip of the snap ring groove. There's my handy dandy light. So far we're looking good. I'd take a step back just in case.
Zoom in.
We know the quality of tool we're working with here. If it gets me, that's one thing. If it gets you, well, we can't have that. Alright, we're down below our snap ring. And we'll see if we can get that fed on without causing a catastrophe. Nobody wants catastrophe. Oh, didn't quite have just enough. There we go. And we're clipped into place. Maybe, come on now. Yeah, our tool was sliding up a little on us. There's some tension on her. Alright. Clips in. Give it a little push. Make sure I'm happy with that. Yep. Happy with that. Now, we're going to slowly release our tension. I know there are transmission guys that just flip this and let it kertwang, and they do it all day, every day, and good for them. I don't. One specialty tool used. Might use it again, might not. Alright. Now, we need to clean our steels and do our steels and clutches. First we need to check, make sure we don't have a wavy steel. Yep, I think it's a wavy steel right there. As a matter of fact, yep. So, I don't know if the camera can see the wave of the steel.
I can see it.
That's a wavy steel. You can see it on the wear marks on it too. And we've got a new one of those as well. And, ooh, this one's a little dirty. We'll get the new ones cleaned up. And back to work. If I would have been paying attention, I would have tried to line those up when I was putting them in. Now I'm going to have to fight with lining them up. But I'll get to that in a minute. Next, we need to pull our sprag off. This is a one-way clutch, sprag roller clutch. On the back side here, and we'll pop this off. Maybe. Come on out. Don't be shy. All right. Pull that off. Pull this off. And now, in theory, should be able to just pull this out or off. Alright, so here is our stock 16 roller sprag. And the aftermarket is figured out. If you make it with twice as many, basically, in a 34 roller, it's less likely to fail. So, went ahead and got one of those. Now we'll see about getting that slipped on and continue with the reassembly process.
Action.
Alright, so we've run into a little thing that I had some oversight on. This drum, if you see, it's got some notches. It'll only work with a 16 sprag roller, our 16 roller sprag. It will not work with our new updated 34 design, which means we got to take a pause and order the correct drum, and hopefully we'll fix some other technical difficulties we've been having too. Hillary's about ready to burn all the cameras and buy new ones. So we'll see you guys in probably just 1 minute.
So it's been a minute. Told you we'd be just a minute while we wait for parts. Well, guess what? When you order stuff from the rainforest in South America, sometimes it gets lost. It's on a slow boat from somewhere. So we're going to do everything else but that drum and get it to where that's all we're waiting for. So now for some eye candy. Yeah, the Hughes Performance reverse manual valve body with engine braking. So we're going to install that, and we're going to get everything else buttoned up that we can before we have to put that drum in. And here we go. Every manual, I don't know if you can see me. I can see you. Every manual will tell you about the center support bolt. If you can see the 12 point on there. Bring it in. All right, center support bolt goes in this special hole under the valve body. So when you rebuild your transmission, it takes a 12 point socket, and that's where it goes. And we'll give her a little snugging. And that goes into that cavity on our, if you look in there, on our center support there that we talked about earlier, having to make sure that was lined up. Now that that is torqued down, elbow clicks at about 45 foot-pounds, so we're good there. Now that that is torqued down, this will not come out. You can get the intermediate shaft that the sun gear rides on to pull out, but that whole assembly is now locked back in the transmission. So I'm going to read some instructions and put the rest of it in. All right. So I'm going to use our lube for like the 4th time. We only use it like 6 times. In the instructions, this cavity here, we're going to put just one of the original steel check balls. And I'm just going to put a little smear in there just to keep her in place. That way if it gets bumped, it doesn't go anywhere. That'll all melt away once it comes up to temperature, and it'll be fine. All right. Got 2 books going here. Got this one. Excuse me. And then our instruction from Hughes. So we're trying to combine the two and make sure we don't miss anything. Alright, we're going to actually use a torque wrench and not just the elbow and shoulder click. Although I will say, I'm pretty darn accurate on the elbow and shoulder click method. Probably could have went with that. Modulator valve, blah blah blah. Installed plug, already did that. This valve body design deletes the intermediate accumulator piston, and that's what failed. So we're happy about that delete. Install this plastic check ball. This cavity here is going to get that check ball installed. Put a little bit of glue, assembly glue, hold you in place. That's probably more than enough. Way too much. Just right. Alright. Our shifter parts. Out. Come out. Yeah. Looks like a nail. It is a nail. That's the retainer that GM used. It was a freaking nail. So our parking Paul, P-A-W-L, not P-A-U-L like your Uncle Paul. So why are we not springing back? We're not springing back the way we should be springing back. Yes. We're not springing. We should be springing. Right, let's try it on that notch. Oh, that feels better. Feels better already.
You have to take a.
Gotta take a sweet tea break. Woohoo! Sweet tea break. Now, for the piece de resistance. Got to line everything up just perfectly. Kind of wish they would have put some washers in this kit. So it didn't gall up this beautiful piece of billet. So, parking pole bolt. Put that in place. There's two different sizes on these. 1/4 inch and 5/16. So you can see 5/16 won't go in a 1/4 inch hole. She's in park now. Reverse, neutral, and now that's first gear. That's second. That's third. Back in park. We'll throw her in neutral for the rest of our assembly. Boy, I put some tight clearances on this thing, and I'm just not even joking about that. Holy cow. That's thinner than a frog's hair. Pretty thin. Alright, you guys take a break. I'm gonna go get an inch-pound wrench. Hey, we got our little baby inch-pound wrench. The bad part is, you gotta get way up tall to see it. Find something I won't fall off of. Hi-ho! I go. Anyway. Start in the middle, work our way out. Alright, 2 more, and we'll show you how this little beauty works. So, as you apply torque, this main shaft on the bottom moves and twists in this head, whereas this smaller rod stays static, and that's where you can get your torque reading. So, very old technology, very simple, doesn't click, doesn't beep, doesn't require batteries, isn't digital. For some applications, I actually like this better, because if I'm doing like a setting wheel bearings, for example, where you want a certain amount of preload and a certain amount of tension, you can do this and roll the bearing, and you know, you can see this. You don't have to worry about listening for a click or watching a digital meter go up and down and beep. They have their purpose still. The other ones are faster and easier for quick reassembly. Speaking of quick reassembly, we're pretty much there. I'm going to do a test fit on our pan. We'll drill and tap that for a temperature sender later, and test fit with our new filter. And I think that'll be it for this round. So we were running a little long in production on the transmission rebuild video. Didn't want to bore you with it, so we're going to do the old, split and split that bad boy into 2 videos. But don't worry, you won't have to wait a full week for the exciting conclusion of the transmission build. We'll go ahead and release that to you Sunday. We'll see you then.